It's about being comfortable. That's what it is. It's all about being comfortable. You know, comfortable things sometimes seems right. Like scratching my foot, you know. But sometimes what's comfortable isn't right. People learn to be comfortable with bad situations. And they learn to be comfortable with being evil, or an evil situation, or an evil environment, or something that they need to fight against. You know, sometimes though, people see evil where there is none, and they fight and they become evil themselves. You know, they fight against things because they think everybody else is wrong. And life is such where we don't have an instruction book that tells us to make a distinction between the good things and the evil things. We have to kind of decide that on our own. How do we decide? Now, a lot of people who are traditional religious people, religious, ridiculous religious people, kind of get to the point where they have to kind of look at things and say, oh, the Bible tells. No, it doesn't really. The Bible doesn't give you instructions on how to deal with everyday life. Look, it's just like being a cop or being an airline pilot. You know, you could learn things in the academy. You could learn things in the training or whatever. But you might encounter a situation that you would never train for. You know, it kind of makes me think about this, that pilot of that plane. I don't remember the flight number, but that thing in this plane crash that happened in Sioux City, Iowa, some number of years ago. And this pilot, you know, he had to deal with the situation, and he was talking about it. You know, he was saying, you know, he called the people at United Airlines and said, is there anybody who knows how to deal with this? You know, because it was like it's something that was not in your training, not in anything you ever had to deal with. And now all of a sudden you got to face something that you have never had to deal with. Total loss of all the hydraulics in the plane. What do? So they more or less had to kind of create a situation of dealing with that. As on the right there, you know, literally in the air. They had to kind of invent a way of dealing with it. And they did. They actually, by adjusting the thrust on the different engines of the plane, they were able to actually steer it in a very kind of crude manner and get it close to the airport. And, you know, the plane did crash. Yes, a lot of people were killed. 110 people were killed. But I think 187 people survived. It was a pretty big airplane. It crashed. The thing is that sometimes in life you're faced with a situation where all of the training you ever went through in your life didn't prepare you for this. You know, you could study the Bible forever and it doesn't tell you how to deal with every situation you're going to deal with in life. You could study science forever and it doesn't tell you how to deal with something. You got to think. You got to actually do this thing called thinking. You know. Some people don't want to do that. And sometimes thinking is uncomfortable. Because it's much easier to just go along with the program and go along with what everybody else tells you to do and just, you know, okay, well, they told me to do it. Or, you know, and if something goes wrong, well, he told me to do it. You know, it's his fault. Blame him, not me. I'm just following orders. Because that's comfortable to a large extent. You know. I'm not going to really say too much right now today. I just wanted to say that because it was just on my mind today about how people just go along with things because it's comfortable, and comfortable always seems right. But comfortable isn't always right. Sometimes you know what's right and because you thought about it. If you dare to think, because some people don't want to think and they don't want to look at a situation because they're afraid that they might have to make a change. You might have to do something that's not very comfortable. You know, you may have to deal with something that you're not accustomed to dealing with. You might have to say something to people that you're not comfortable saying, but you have to say it. It's necessary. And, you know, it's just the way things are in life. I've had to overcome fears. And I think about when I overcame the anxiety attacks I used to go through. You know, I could have just continued to avoid situations that made me feel anxious. You know, but I didn't want to be that way. It got to be like being in a prison. It was like living in prison. You couldn't go anywhere because this fear would just hit you. So I had to overcome that. And it meant facing something that I avoided because it was uncomfortable. But I'm glad I did because now I can go places, I can do things. You know, I'm able to travel halfway across the world on a trip. And at one point, I couldn't even go 2 blocks. I couldn't even go 2 blocks away from home without being hit by this anxiety. You know, life is that way. It's just a thing I've learned at times. Sometimes comfortable isn't always the best thing. You know, I mean, it's nice to have comforts. I mean, we pay for comforts and stuff. We pay for luxury things, and to be in a comfortable hotel or to have a nice comfortable limousine if we got that kind of money. But you know what? Sometimes in life, you do have to face things that are uncomfortable, and you know it. And sometimes we don't want to know that. We even avoid knowing things. But it's just the way things are. That's my word of the day. You know, face the uncomfortable stuff sometimes. Now, you don't always have to be uncomfortable. I mean, it's not like I should just go and put some rocks in my shoes just because I think I need to face something uncomfortable. That's not necessary, but, you know, sometimes you do need to face uncomfortable things.